everyone. Welcome to the English Marathon.
I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Maya. Today is day 1 of our 500-day journey. Today, we're talking about the core of any long-term project, finding your personal motivation, or what we like to call the big why.
Oh, Alex, can you believe we're finally here? Day 1. I actually couldn't sleep last night. I kept thinking about all the people tuning in from different corners of the world. Some are probably drinking coffee in a busy city. Others might be in a quiet village. But we're all starting this marathon together. I've got serious butterflies in my stomach.
It's a natural reaction, Maya. Starting something that lasts 500 days is a massive commitment. It's like standing at the base of Mount Everest and looking up at the peak. It's intimidating, but the view from the top is what keeps you climbing.
Exactly. But let's talk about that looking up part. A lot of people start learning English because they feel they have to. Maybe their boss dropped a hint, or their parents want them to study abroad. But is that enough to last 500 days?
In my experience as a teacher, honestly, no. External pressure is a great kickstart, like a spark in an engine. But to keep the car running for 500 miles or 500 days, you need internal fuel. You need to know how English is going to change your specific life.
I love that. For me, it was always about freedom. I remember being a teenager and wanting to travel. I saw people from different countries laughing together in hostels, and they were all speaking English. I felt like I was locked out of a room where the best party was happening. I wanted the key to that room.
That's a powerful why. You didn't want to learn grammar, you wanted to join the party. And that's what we want to help our listeners find today. Before we open a single textbook or look at a verb tense, we need to find your key. You know, Maya, when we talk about motivation, we often simplify it. But there's a psychological layer here. There's a concept called goal contagion. It's the idea that we adopt the goals of the people around us.
Oh, I've definitely felt that. Like when all your friends start going to the gym, so you buy a membership too. But then 2 weeks later, you're back on the couch eating potato chips because you didn't actually want to be there.
Exactly. And English is the same. If you're learning it because everyone else is, you'll hit a wall by day 30. We need to distinguish between what the world wants from you and what you want for yourself.
But Alex, let's be fair. Sometimes the world's why is very practical. What if someone needs English just to get a better paying job to support their family? That's a pretty strong motivation, even if it's not fun, right?
Absolutely. That falls under instrumental motivation. You're using the language as an instrument to achieve a result. It's very effective for short-term goals. But here's the problem. What happens when you get the job? Often, people stop learning. They plateau. Their English stays at a good enough level, but they never reach true fluency or confidence.
That's a trap. I call that the Fluency Plateau. You can survive, you can order a pizza, you can send a basic email, so your brain says, okay, we're done. Let's stop working so hard. How do we break past that?
By shifting from instrumental to integrative motivation. That's when you want to identify with the culture, the humor, and the people who speak the language. You don't just want to work in English, you want to live in English.
I remember a student I met once. He was an engineer, very technical, very structured, kind of like you, Alex. He struggled with English for years. Then he discovered 1970s British rock music. Suddenly, he wasn't studying prepositions, he was trying to understand the soul of a song. His English exploded within 6 months.
Because the why became emotional. Emotions are the glue for memory. When you learn a word because it helps you express a feeling or understand a story you care about, that word sticks. If you learn it because it's on page 42 of a workbook, it disappears the moment you close the book.
So let's debate this then. If someone is listening right now and they say, Maya, Alex, I don't care about rock music or making friends. I just want to pass my IELTS exam so I can move on with my life. What do we say to them? Are they doomed to fail this marathon?
Not doomed, but they are at a higher risk of burnout. If the goal is just an exam, the 500-day journey will feel like a long walk through a desert. My advice to them would be to sprinkle some fun into the process.
Keep it spicy, as I like to say.
Exactly. Even if you have a serious goal, you have to find a way to enjoy the flavor of the language. English is incredibly rich. It has more words than almost any other language because it's a fief. It steals words from everywhere. Latin, French, German, Hindi, Arabic. It's a global mosaic.
I never thought of it as a thief, but you're right. It's like a giant melting pot of history. That's another way to look at it. Learning English is like being a history detective. Every word has a story.
Let's look at the long-term versus short-term perspective. On day one, most people are full of energy. They want to study for 3 hours. I actually tell my students not to do that.
Wait, really? Why? If I'm excited, shouldn't I use that energy?
Because that energy is like a candle. If you light it at both ends, it burns out fast. In a marathon, you don't sprint the first mile. If you do, you'll collapse by mile 5. You have to find a sustainable pace.
That makes sense. It's better to do 20 minutes a day for 500 days than to do 5 hours a day for 1 week and then quit. But Alex, consistency is hard. Life gets in the way, kids get sick, work gets busy, or you just have a blah day where you want to do nothing.
That's where identity-based habits come in. Instead of saying, I am trying to learn English, you start saying, I am a person who practices English every day. It's a small shift in language, but a big shift in mindset. If it's part of who you are, you don't need motivation to do it. You just do it because it's you.
I love that. I am an English speaker. Even if I only know 10 words, I am a speaker of those 10 words.
Precisely. So, as we wrap up this main discussion for day one, I want everyone to think, is your why big enough to carry you through the days when you don't feel like practicing? If it's not, let's spend today making it bigger. Let's make it personal.
Think about the movies you'll watch without subtitles, the jokes you'll finally understand, the people you'll meet, and the version of yourself that is confident and fluent. That's the person we're walking toward. Phew, that was a deep discussion, Alex. My brain is already starting to do some heavy lifting. But before we move on, I dropped a few Maya-isms in there that we should probably unpack for our friends.
Maya-isms. I like that. You definitely have a colorful way of expressing yourself. One of the first ones you mentioned was hitting a wall. You said you'll hit a wall by day 30.
Right. Imagine you're running a real marathon, feeling great, and then suddenly, bam! It feels like you ran straight into a brick wall. Your legs are heavy, you can't breathe, and you want to stop. In language learning, hitting a wall is that moment when you stop seeing progress and everything feels suddenly impossible.
Formally, we call this a plateau or a period of stagnation. It's a very common psychological phase where your brain is actually processing what you've learned, even if you don't feel like you're getting better. If you hit a wall, the trick is not to stop, but to climb over it.
I'll bring the latter next time. Then I mentioned the Fluency Plateau.
This is a great term for our B1 to B2 level listeners. A plateau is a large area of high, flat land. In learning, it's when you reach a level where you are comfortable enough to survive, but you stop improving. You aren't going down, but you aren't going up either. You're just flat.
It's a dangerous place to be because it's comfortable. You also used a fancy term, Alex, instrumental motivation.
Yes, think of an instrument as a tool, like a hammer or a screwdriver. Instrumental motivation is when you learn a language as a tool to get something else, a job, a grade, a visa. It's practical, but it lacks soul.
Which is the opposite of integrative motivation. To integrate means to mix in or become part of something. So, if you have integrative motivation, you want to mix into the culture. You want to understand the slang, the jokes, and the vibe of the people.
Exactly. And lastly, you mentioned that English is a thief because it steals words.
Guilty. English is notorious for this. We take words from other languages and make them our own, like sushi from Japan, safari from Swahili, or entrepreneur from French. We call these loan words. Right. So if you're a learner and you see a word that looks like your native language, don't be surprised. English probably borrowed it and forgot to give it back.
For today's scenario, instead of a quick role play, let's look at a story of two different learners. Let's call them Sam and Lina.
Oh, I love a good story. Let me guess. One of them is team intensity and the other is team consistency?
You caught me. So, Sam starts day one of his English journey with a huge burst of energy. He buys 5 different grammar books, subscribes to 3 apps, and decides he's going to study for 4 hours every single night after work. He's got intensity written all over him.
I know a Sam. He probably didn't sleep for the first week, right?
Exactly. By day 10, Sam is exhausted. He's finished half of one book, but his brain feels like mush. On day 11, his boss asks him to stay late at work. He misses his 4-hour study session. He feels like a failure. On day 12, he's too tired to even look at his books. By day 15, Sam has hit the wall and he quits. The books are now gathering dust on his shelf.
Poor Sam. He burnt his candle at both ends. Now, what about Lina?
Lina is different. On day 1, she sits down and finds her big why. She realizes she wants to be able to talk to her cousins who live in Canada. That's her emotional anchor. Instead of 4 hours, she commits to just 20 minutes a day.
20 minutes? That's it? Alex, that doesn't sound like enough to learn a whole language.
That's what people think. But here's the secret. Lina makes those 20 minutes a habit. On the days she's busy, she listens to an English podcast while cooking. On the days she's tired, she watches one YouTube video in English with the subtitles on. She doesn't aim for perfect, she aims for present.
So she keeps it manageable. She doesn't let the shiny objects distract her.
Exactly. Fast forward to day 100. Sam hasn't touched a book in 85 days, but Lina, she has practiced for 2,000 minutes total. She can now have a basic conversation with her cousins. She isn't perfect, but she's consistent. By day 500, Lina is fluent, and Sam has forgotten almost everything he learned in that first week.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective. It's not about how fast you run, it's about not stopping. Lina found her big why, and it kept her walking even when she didn't feel like running. All right, everyone, you've heard the story of Sam and Lina. Now it's your turn to choose your path.
Your day 1 challenge is a deep one. We want you to write down your big why. But don't just say to get a job. Go deeper. How will that job change your life? How will being fluent in English make you feel?
Write it down in a notebook or in the comments below. Use the phrase, "My big why is," and try to use at least one of our new words, like consistency or integrative motivation. I'll be reading the comments to see who's starting this marathon with us.
Remember, this is day 1 of 500. Don't be a Sam, be a Lina. That's all for today's session of the English Marathon. We hope this helped you get one step closer to fluency.
If you enjoyed this, please hit like and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can join us every single day of this marathon. Stay consistent, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 2.
See you tomorrow, marathoners. Keep it spicy.